Morning, everyone. Sorry, struggling to find my mute button. Yes, thank you all for joining us. Exciting meeting today, jam-packed, and as Andrew said, it'd be good if everyone could stick around for the networking at the end. So exciting day, especially for me today, because at some point this afternoon we'll be launching the new website. So if everyone can take 10 minutes at some point in the next week to go on, have a little look and have a browse around it, that would be fab. Just to let you all know, this is phase 1 of the website. So we are going to be continuously updating it over the next few months and adding new features, building the login area for members and just slowly developing it. But yeah, please, there's a feedback button on the website. We'd love to hear your feedback on it, positive or negative. Try not to be too brutal. And yeah, just I was going to do a screenshot and show you around it and show you where all the different parts that are going to be, but then I thought, well, actually that defeats the object, because if you can't find your way around it, we've not done our job very well. So yeah, anyway, I look forward to getting everyone's feedback on that. The other thing I just wanted to touch base on is next week we're having our first net zero event. So that's on the Tuesday, the 18th. It's quite exciting agenda. So we're going to hear from Julia Pipe from EDF talking about the new Moorside developments. We've got Chris Jackson, the chair of the UK Hydrogen Association, talking about hydrogen across the UK, the future of it and the opportunities. We've got Tim Gale from the Cumbrian Climate Change Action Group, and then we've got a couple more who I'm not going to announce just yet, just in case anything changes. But it's a really exciting group, and I hope everyone can come along because it's sort of relevant to everyone regardless. Obviously, Net Zero 2050 is in law, which means everyone's going to have to make some changes in their business regardless. And over the next few meetings, we're going to not only look at opportunities with regards to work for you all in sort of the climate agenda, but also what you can be doing internally in your own businesses. So yeah, anyway, that's me plugging my bits. So yeah, exciting meeting today, and I believe I'm handing over to Dr Ian Hudson from KBR, giving us a KAD Nuclear overview. So I'll just hand over.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for inviting me along to talk about KAD Nuclear. I guess the theme of the presentation is about collaboration and about doing some things differently. We've spent probably the last 18 months establishing and working together on something called KAD Nuclear. It's a collection of companies made up of KBR, Assystem and Doosan. You can see the marketing people earned the money to create that name, KAD Nuclear. I guess what we've been looking at is how does KBR position and work with people to deliver a difference in the market? When you look at the kind of nuclear market, a lot of the issues are long-term management of risks. You need to integrate with the supply chain, and you need to work closely with communities to help deliver that. And often when you're trying to address some of these needs, you need a set of skills that are not just held in one particular company. So we've been building the last 18 months, working on some stuff to establish something we call KAD Nuclear. So KBR, for those of you who don't know KBR, at one level we're a kind of large US EPCM. We've got a history of delivering large programs and projects in the oil and gas industry, but more recently, the last 3 or 5 years, we've restructured our business significantly to be delivering a lot of work in government services, so in MOD, into across DOD in the US, and across a whole bunch of government services contractors, also clients as well. So I guess we're quite good at working in and delivering large programs. But one of the things about the KBR, our kind of culture is it's a long-term collaborative culture. We've been working with Assystem, who are a kind of nuclear engineering company, French-owned, but based over here in the UK. And people of Focal would recognise them working on some of the projects at Sellafield, working in some collaborative ventures there, some framework contracts there. and also Doosan Babcock. Doosan again working on framework contracts at Sellafield, but also integrally involved in things like the HPC down in the south as well. Now, what we were looking to do was bring together a bunch of complementary skills to deliver work to clients. But the other thing that we were also looking to do was to align from a cultural perspective, so we can bring some complementary cultures. In my mind, as you're starting to develop collaborations and you can build a firm foundation from a cultural perspective, it makes it a lot easier to deliver stuff when you actually get into delivery mode as well. So the partnership, we'd work well together. It brings and for us, we were also looking to bring something different into the market. So you can also see that we are working together on PPP. So KBR are working together with Doosan Babcock. We'd worked with Assystem in relation to some of the new build opportunities as well. And Assystem and Doosan had also worked together on projects. So there was a firm foundation that we were building on. And I would also say when you look at the types of contracts that both Assystem and Doosan are involved with, and also KBR were involved in a lot of long-term partnerships. So we started off a lot of the alliancing work in the North Sea, working with BP from a KBR perspective. Doosan are absolutely built into an alliance working with HPC and a bunch of partners over there, and you'll also see them working on things in the Sellafield as well. So we created that, and we were really looking at it for a specific example, but also looking at how we can develop it across the business. More recently, we bid on some work up with the departments at DIO, and we've been successful in achieving a 7 to 10 year framework contract, which is called Nuclear Technical Support Provider Framework. So we were awarded that in May this year. It's a contract with DIO Infrastructure. It's another partnership, interestingly enough, with ACA, which is Atkins and Cavendish, and Nuvia, and we're looking at it for a 7 to 10 year kind of contract. What was interesting, the procurement, whilst we started positioning for this probably at the start of last year, the actual invitation to participate in dialogue probably ran from September through to January. And I have to give the client credit, because that's quite an intense period of work and quick for a scale of project this is focused on. And interestingly, built into the selection criteria, obviously there was the usual commercial stuff and financials, but there was a strong element on technical and collaboration. And we were involved in extensive dialogue sessions. We had people looking at our kind of behaviours, how we work together. They even put us together with our competitors in a room to see how we operated together as well. So, and there was a significant amount of scoring around that. So it was a very, very intense kind of approach in terms of procurement, because we had not only had to, we had to pull 3 entities together, KAD, and so the design of putting the partners together was important. But at various points, we had to prepare upwards of 20 to 30 people for dialogue sessions that could last a couple of days at a time as well, which were scored as part of the criteria. So NTSP is a framework contract, and it's to provide special nuclear services to DIO. The primary focus of it will be supporting the refurbishment and upgrade of infrastructure around the UK, but in particular up in the Clyde. And it's really, really crucial in terms of as part of the kind of overall defence nuclear mission in terms of maintaining a continuous at sea deterrent. So it's quite a fun project and quite an interesting and important strategically project as well. So it was important that from a KAD Nuclear perspective, we were able to bring a set of skills and capabilities to bear. The other part of it as well, as you can see, it's a 7 to 10 year kind of framework. So it kind of changes the way you think about contracts. When you think about a normal subcontract prime relationship, when you're talking about 7 to 10 years, you can actually think about how you build supply chain for 7 to 10 years for multiple projects. You can think about how you start to do resource management as well. You can start to look at the long-term management of risks, working with the client as well. And most importantly as well, if you're looking to build specific capability a specialist capability, you can actually build that by planning your work. So not only was it collaborative, but this sort of 7 to 10 year kind of framework starts to change the way you would think about it. So for me, we were really lucky to actually get that contract. We did a good job. Really pleased with the new partners that we've got, both in terms of the clients and ACA and Nuvia. But from a kind of Cumbrian perspective, I mean, a number of you will know I kick around Cumbria. I live here and I've done a lot of work with Sellafield, but I've worked across a number of sites in the UK and internationally. And KAD was established from existing relationships such as PPP. So for me, it seems an opportunity to grow capability based out of Cumbria and start delivering work elsewhere. Clearly, we would look to utilise some of the good practice we build up here, doing work at Sellafield and other places, and we should also be looking to develop some of the supply chain relationships that we've got on this new opportunity. Because I know that the kind of challenge for Cumbria is about building a kind of world-class nuclear industry based out of Cumbria that delivers nationally and internationally. And for me, this is a good opportunity where we started with some capabilities here in Cumbria and other places, and we started to extract it and extend it into other markets as well. At the moment, as you can imagine, we signed in May, mobilising a project with new relationships, new clients and things like that through COVID-19, as you can imagine, is quite a challenge. We've had to develop quite a lot of new techniques in terms of doing workshops and that sort of stuff, as I think a lot of us have done. We kind of and the other kind of complication for us is that a lot of the work's official or official sensitive, so we have the challenge of making sure we can manage and share sensitive information amongst us in a kind of remote environment as well. So it's quite an interesting kind of challenge, and at the same time building new relationships and cultures. And in fact, that was one of the benefits that came out of the procurement, is that having been through a fairly intense collaborative procurement, we already had a lot of existing relationships to build off. So I had already met the client extensively. I come across the framework director that was working on from the other partners as well, and we knew a number of the members of the team. So that actually helped us quite a lot. So at the moment, we're focused on mobilisation. We're building up the work scope, and we're at the early stage of development and looking at the forward programme. We are starting to take on opportunities in terms of jobs. And clearly there are some people that will be able to there are opportunities for people in Cumbria, because if you think about one of the main places of location will be Glasgow as well. So there are opportunities to work from here into Glasgow as well. And I think there are also opportunities to build relationships from folk here in Cumbria into this new opportunity as well. In terms of the things that we're doing, I have to say it's one of the most rewarding sort of collaborative ventures I've done, in terms of it's been, the alignment of culture and the actual ability to actually offer something different and unique in terms of the market. We were a new entrant into this particular part of MOD. So that's always a challenge, and so to get in there has been really key. The thing I would suggest is, you working collaboratively, it's not an easy thing to do, because you have challenges. You have challenges of commercial relationships. You've got to work out how you can make money. You've got to understand the client. But in the end, if you can get the right kind of combination of skills and capability and kind of culture, you can actually make quite a difference. And what's interesting is we've been putting teams together to support and deliver things up on the NTSP project. But having started to do that, there are other opportunities that are occurring. So you can see some of the asset management teams are starting to work on other things around the UK as well as here in Cumbria. You can see opportunities in broader MOD and also NDA, but also you can see opportunities in the civil market as well. So I guess a lot of us work in specific new ventures for the design for specific opportunities. It's always a good thing, I find, to actually start building strategic relationships, because it enables delivery. And often when you've got the right kind of combination, you get lots of novel and interesting things happen. And so it kind of reaffirms my belief that diverse teams are the most innovative and most delivery focused kind of teams and most fun teams to work in. So I think that's me in terms of summary. Any questions at that point, Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. There is one question, but before I go to that, we have got 5 people who have joined today's session on their phones. So obviously it's a bit difficult. You can't see the screen necessarily, but if you are listening through your phone and you would like to put a question to any of today's speakers, then do please drop Hazel a quick email, hazel.dewey@becbusinesscluster.co.uk, and Hazel will pop that in the chat and we'll be able to get that question to any of the speakers. So if you are on a phone, just drop an email through to Hazel and we'll make sure that your voice is heard. So back to the questions. Diane Richardson has asked a question. Can you, well, in fact, Diane, I'll come to you. You can ask that question directly.
Thanks for that, Andrew. Ian, you knew I'd be right at the front of the queue, didn't you? It was just really to give some idea. Do you know what kind of capability NTSP will be looking for? Just help members decide whether it's something they need to keep an eye on or not, whether they'd get some opportunities through it possibly?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, if you take the NTSP opportunity, the kind of key challenges are, whilst it's nuclear, actually a lot of it's non-nuclear. So it's the establishment of programs and projects to deliver major infrastructure. So it's all to do with large concrete structures, waterfront stuff. It's to do with engineering assessment, risk management. It's to do with supply chain management as well. So whilst if you can think of kind of things at Sellafield, there's a very strong nuclear bent, it's carried out on a nuclear site, but this is very strongly an infrastructure project. So the kind of things we are looking for: risk management, program management, capability, the ability to do infrastructure management and assessments. So you can imagine you've got a critical set of assets that have to be available all the time. So asset management, the ability to do asset management assessments and things like that are going to be important, and the ability to actually manage and deliver projects whilst you're carrying it alongside operations as well. So does that kind of help, Diane?
Yeah, I think that'll give members an idea of whether to keep in touch and keep an eye on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Michael Williams, you've posted a question in the chat as well. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yep, sure. Thanks for that. So thanks, Ian, for the overview there. Basically, we're here at PDL, we're an engineering consultancy, and we are quite interested in NTSP as a potential opportunity to collaborate and get involved in the program. And so far, we've been on the sort of in reaching out mode to likes of Alan Young at Doosan and various people at ASSSTEM, for example, not spoken to yourselves as yet, but just trying to understand whether at KAD, are you going to actually have a centralized portal to kind of coordinate interaction with the supply chain and getting people on board, or do we need to sort of reach out to KBR, ASSSTEM, Doosan separately and have those individual dialogues and try and identify opportunities that way?
I don't think we'll get to a point where we have a single portal right now, because we're still sort of starting to grow the business. What I would say though is you should be able to access us through any of the partners, so Alan Young, myself, or Matt Gallimore. What we're kind of used to is, I mean, we've designed the consortium so we have a fair share of work, or equitable fair share of work between us, so, and we should be able to represent each other. So if you speak to Alan or you speak to Matt or myself, then we would absolutely naturally link you into the other side of things. So if you're I guess if you look at the capabilities from an engineering perspective, it's more likely to be ASSSTEM, I suspect. Mm-hmm. In the kind of bigger project and program management, it would be KBR, but in theory, you should be able to pick up the phone to any of us and we should link you in. Mm-hmm. And the way we're operating is Alan and Matt Gallimore, they're obviously looking at new business growth, and so they kind of look at it from over there. I'm the framework director for the NTSP, so you know it's equally possible to come straight to me as well, and I can certainly point in the direction of work. Okay. Does that help, Michael?
It does, yeah. It's just that sort of trying to understand if there was going to be as I said, like a centralized kind of function, or how the sort of supplier outreach was going to work really. But yeah. But equally understand that there are good capabilities within the 3 organisations as well.
looks like we've might have lost his connection just at the point where I think he was saying, yes, that's answered his question. So,
but no, I mean, I'll maybe reach out to you after.
So I wasn't sure if it was me, so I was just doing a bit of a dance, you know.
we've had a few moments there where I think Zoom has finally caught up with itself. So, Michael, does that? I think that answered your question.
Yep, that's perfect. Thanks very much.
Super, thank you. Angie Dean, question for Ian from you. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, morning. Thanks very much, Ian. I found that presentation really fascinating, particularly the assessment that you went through during the bid process and everything. I was just curious to know, obviously, you've got quite a bit of experience now collaborating with different organisations. Perhaps you could share with us what sort of qualities you look for when you're considering partnering with another organisation.
Yeah, so certainly. I mean, thanks, Angie. I mean, from a starting point, one of the things that KBR does is we use the ISO standard, the ISO partnering standard. I think it's 44,000 that is for partnering. So we use that as a basis for a lot of our projects. So we're accredited for the ISO partnering standard. And interestingly, Doosan are in the process of developing that, and so are assets there. The thing for me in terms of collaborative relationships, I mean, the basis of it is there's a mutual win-win sort of basis for working together. So you got to work out that coming together, there's a greater opportunity and alignment to that opportunity between the organisations. So we absolutely saw the complementarity of the skills and the capability allowed us both to access markets that individually we couldn't do. So we've got a basic win-win theme that kind of runs through the relationship. I think in terms of complementary skills and stuff like that, I look for a history of collaboration. So real collaboration. That doesn't mean to say some things have gone well and some things have not gone well, because often you find how people do as to when things are not going well. So if I take Doosan, for instance, my experience of Doosan when I was in the NDA was they were involved with a project at Sellafield, and I have to say it wasn't going great guns, to be honest. What they did is they put their contract to one side and worked in an integrated fashion with the client to fix it. So their behaviour to actually fix the problem I observed firsthand. So I always talk about Doosan's behaviour around that. And so you can see a track record, but also having seen how people work as well. This complementarity is important. You will always find overlap. There's no issue, you know, in terms of what we all do, because we all have broad capabilities. But if you can be clear about the different skills you bring to a particular project, it certainly helps, I would say. And interestingly enough, just overall on collaboration, the MOD were using a model. They had a company called JCPII who had a collaborative model, which is a behavioural-based model. And it's interesting because we spend days being with people with clipboards following us. And you can train people and you can watch how people operate. But in the end, after a couple of days of intense workshops, people revert to type as well. So I think in my world, it's always good to have people who are experts in building collaborative relationships to help you along the way. So people like myself are amateurs. We know about collaboration, we know what we like, but also having people who know about these kind of things and help you develop the team. Because, you know, there'll always be times when you don't get on, or you run yourself into the ground over something. So having people to help with that is good. Does that kind of help answer the question, Angie?
Yes, it does. I think you've been very insightful and open and honest, and I think I've personally learned a lot today. Thank you for that. Great.
Okay, thank you for those questions. We've not had any more questions submitted, so I think you're off the hook now, Ian. I think that's covered everything. So thanks very much for giving your time and sharing that insight. Very much appreciated.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. So we shall move on to our next speaker, and that is Adam Baker of RTR. And Adam, you are also going to be sharing some slides today.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name's Adam, and over the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to introduce you to RTR and hopefully show you how we can help you and your business. Firstly, a little bit about myself. So I have a mechanical engineering degree from Newcastle University. And during that time, amongst many other topics, I studied the crystal structures and defects within steels, and also their impact on the mechanical properties of those steels. On the back of previous experience that I have in design and manufacture of steel components, I've been brought into RTR to further develop our UK nuclear business. So by the end of this presentation, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of the ways in which RTR can help clear problems from your path and ultimately enhance your efficiency. So who are RTR? Well, we are an independent German engineering and metallurgist and project management consultancy with over 50 years experience in petrochem, oil and gas, biomass, waste to energy, and of course nuclear, where we have extensive experience in supplying supplying materials and components in accordance with the RCCM codes and the QN 100 standards. So you'll often hear of the larger tier 1 and tier 2 operators talking of the smaller, more agile, innovative SMEs with whom they have critical partnerships precisely because of these characteristics. So this is where RTR comes in. With us, you'll have an immediate point of contact who will sit alongside the fellow engineers and logistics and have the ear of the final decision maker. So as you can see to the top right of this slide here, we are rated as a top supplier to Areva, which of course are now Framatome again, and we are a certified carbon neutral company. So perhaps though our greatest source of pride comes from being awarded the Queen's Award for International Trade in 2019 in recognition of our global successes. So RTR UK, should I say, is based in Gateshead, and as you'd expect of a German company, we are headquartered in Germany, and we have further offices in Poland and international offices in Johannesburg, Delhi, Dubai, Melbourne, and Perth. So as you can see, we're very well positioned to deliver complex orders across global markets. So RTR has continuously supplied the nuclear power industry for over 20 years, either directly through to Framatome or more typically through pipeline constructors such as Kraftenslagen or Bilfinger. We've just completed delivery on some 316H bar for EDF Dungeness, and within the last few years we've supplied some forged temperators and alloyed bar to EDF Hartlepool and Heysham, respectively. And we're currently working on an HPC inquiry for Bilfinger. So as you can see, we're involved right across the nuclear industry, from regional general fabricators within the supply chain all the way up to global nuclear new build projects. So since 2009, we've supplied FL3, as it's more commonly known, Flamanville in France, with approximately 8.8 million euros of Q3 austenitic and ferritic materials and components, such as valves, reducers, and fixed point cages, typically in grades 301, 304L and 316L. In addition to this, we've supplied a further 2 million euros worth of Q2 and Q1 tubes and upgrades. And if you look at this slide here, on the left-hand side in the yellow print, is a graphic of one of the many requisition lists from that order. And to the right is an example of some of the typical example of a technical assembly and all the elements involved, such as plates, bushes, and coatings. Since 2005, we've supplied OL3 in Finland with between 5 and 6 million euros of Q3 austenitic and ferritic materials and components such as bows, tees, flanges, and nozzles in similar grades. And even further afield, we received our first orders for Angra 2 in Brazil in the late 90s, and as recently as last December, delivered around 300,000 euros of austenitic pipes. So being truly independent and thus not tied to any one mill, forger, or fabricator means that we are free to source the most optimum customer-specific materials from our long-standing and trusted world-class supply chain across Europe. We offer a complete service for the nuclear power generation sector, including metallurgy and engineering consultancy, supply chain management, logistics, inspection, testing, heat treatment, expediting, sourcing, documentation, and regulatory alignment. We manage the initial planning stage right the way through to delivery logistics. So from standard grade plate and bar all the way through to bespoke engineered components and difficult to find grades, we source material and components for in and around what you might call the nuclear island from our mainland European partners. Part of that, our quality approved supply chain are a UK-based F4N company that some of you may already be aware of called ProPod. We use their fantastic induction bending solutions and specialist cladding services for our clients in all 4 corners of the globe. So how does this benefit the customer? Well, firstly, there's the risk management aspect. So we take on responsibility for the complete logistics chain. This means everything concerning cost, quality, and deadlines. The time saving. So we oversee the complete subcontractor management from order to delivery. You only have one point of contact, which reduces the resources you need for each project. And finally, there's a significant reduction of costs due to greater efficiencies from reduction of your processes, including procurement and expediting. Furthermore, we hold emergency stock in the UK, which can be ordered and delivered to customers within 24 hours. So, in summary, here's a schematic of our work package, and you can see it's a very systematic process. Our customers have come to expect the highest quality products with a fully documented and transparent audit trail. We guarantee prompt tender delivery and also reliable management of your orders with full overview of each process and project stage. So our collaborative ethos is manifest not only in the numerous framework agreements that we hold with clients on the continent and overseas, but also in the hard work we've put in with our supply chain partners, which has led us to, for instance, these images here. These are the integral components that are seamless, which of course removes the need for welding. So on the left of this slide here, you'll be able to see a 6-meter integral forged pipe with pipe attachments, and that's been made out of a single piece of steel. And the image beside it is a double branch T-piece that's been made in exactly the same way. So this concept results in components that are far more resistant to deformation and cracking due to creep and fatigue, respectively, excuse me, which of course in theory allows for greater operating longevity. This means less downtime and lower plant maintenance costs. And moreover, another benefit that it has is that it lends greater flexibility at the design stage, and it also significantly reduces the need for surveillance, because obviously there are no welds. So this concept can be applied to all manner of components such as tees, nozzles, stubs, and branches. Okay, so if you or your colleagues have experienced any of the issues I've just discussed, and you'd like to know how our powerful combination of technical expertise, sector experience, and time invested can help you improve your systems and services, then please contact me on the details above or find me on LinkedIn. Now, we're going to go to some questions. Before I open up the questions, I just wanted to say thanks for inviting me here today to present, and particularly thanks to Hazel and Andrew for helping us get set up along the way. Okay, so over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Adam. Really appreciate that. We have had one pre-submitted question, which I'm going to ask actually, because it's from David Stallard, but he was unsure as to whether he'd have a strong enough connection for putting this directly. But the question is: I've known RTR for many years, during which time Doosan have partnered RTR across many energy generation sectors. How do you see the nuclear sector developing over the next 10 years or so?
Okay, well, thanks, David, from afar. So yeah, I mean, as far as the EU is concerned, the 20% emissions reduction target for 2020 has been hit, but to reach the 40% that's been mandated for 2030 is going to be difficult without relying on nuclear fusion that with its sort of lower emissions footprint. So now that HPC is the finishing line is in sight, and Sizewell C is very much coming back on stream, things are definitely looking up in that respect. So in terms of RTR, we of course will no doubt be playing a significant role in this, whether that's through innovative concepts such as the one we've just been discussing that could potentially extend plant life, or simply by continuing to function as a first-class supplier of materials and components. So yeah, I mean, but come what may, we are excited and very well prepared for the 2020s in the UK nuclear. So I hope that has sufficiently answered David's question.
Okay, thanks, Adam. We have no further questions, so that is all. Thank you very much for taking the time to share your presentation. Very much appreciated, and obviously your contact details were up on screen, so people will be able to follow up directly.
Thank you. I look forward to getting in touch with our fellow BEC members. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. All right, so up next we have the first of two 3x3s. Technically, it's a 2x3, but they're known as 3x3, so we'll stick with that. Diane, are you going to be timing our 3x3s today?
Andrew, I think you know the answer to that
I thought so, yes. I saw you getting ready with the timer. So who's up first? We've got Michelle McGibbon now. Just bear with me because I'm going to be putting your slides up, Michelle. So I shall do that now.
Been timing it perfectly.
I'll start at 3 then. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning. My name's Michelle McGibbon, and I've recently started working for a new charity called Every Life Matters. It's a small local suicide prevention charity based in Cumbria, and it was set up by people who've been affected by suicide themselves. We offer training on suicide prevention and awareness, as well as a new service of support to those bereaved by suicide. Next slide, please. Thoughts of suicide are really common. 1 in 5 people have thoughts of suicide in their lifetime. 1 in 17 people have thoughts in any given year. Next slide, please. 1 person a week dies by suicide in Cumbria alone. We have some of the highest suicide rates in the country, which are 40 to 50% higher than the national average. It's on the rise due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's going to continue to rise due to the long-term economic impact. It's therefore more important now more than ever to ensure that support is available. Next slide, please. Suicide is preventable. We have set up suicide safer communities in Cumbria to raise awareness and encourage people to talk about suicide. We all have a part to play in suicide prevention. It's a community effort, not just family and friends, but also colleagues can spot the signs if you know what to look out for. Next slide, please. We offer support after suicide. We work with other agencies to provide the bereavement support and have a direct link with the police for us to carry out early one-to-one support for next of kin. Next slide, please. We want to work with employers to offer free training for your staff, as they are on the front line of suicide prevention. You may have mental health first aiders already, but we suggest also having staff trained in suicide awareness. We can offer training from a basic awareness course to suicide first aid. Our training is delivered free, but there are bespoke and accredited courses available, but they do carry a charge which gets reinvested into the charity. Next slide, please. We can help make your workplace safer by offering training, posters, resource packs on how to become a suicide safer workplace. We can help introduce policies on how your business responds to suicide, including workforce development plans. If you already have mental health first aid written into your policies, then you should also think about introducing suicide awareness. We're also introducing an orange button scheme where you have a designated orange button holder for people to talk to, which businesses can sign up to. Next slide, please. And finally, September the 10th is World Suicide Prevention Day. Please follow us on Facebook and join us by changing your profile picture to our Facebook frame. And by fundraising for us, we also have lots of bite-sized training sessions taking place on the day. We're aiming to try and get as many people as possible trained on the day. And if you are interested in any of our training, then please visit our website. Thank you.
3 seconds under, Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for your help organising those training days for PPP. I have to say, you know, why would any employer not pick up on that free training?
Exactly.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for your feedback.
Thank you, Michelle, and well done. We'll move straight into the next 3-minute presentation, and that is Yasmin Yu. So Yasmin, you're also going to share your screen. So as and when you're ready, if you want to put your slides up, and then over to you. Or we'll count over to Diane to count you in.
We need to count down, Andrew. You all ready, Yasmin? 3, 2, 1, go.
Thanks. Hi everyone, thank you for having me, and thank you to Hazel especially for getting this presentation slot in so last minute. So yeah, I'm Yasmin and I am a nuclear graduate. Today I'm here to talk to you about Curious Games and the launch of our product, Megawatt. So this is our team. Curious Games is a team of 8 nuclear graduates, and some of you might know that each team is tasked with the SME challenge, which is basically to set up and run a business for a year with the aim of raising as much money as possible for charity. And our charity is Eden Reforestation Projects, who work to plant trees and hire local people to do so in order to restore ecosystems all around the world in communities that really, really need it. So when we were deciding what our product should be, there were 3 things that we could agree on, and that was things that we really cared about, and they were STEM education, climate change, and also having fun. So as a result of that, we created Megawatt. Megawatt is an educational card game all about sustainable energy, and it's aimed at players aged 11+. So each player has to try and build the biggest electricity grid using a range of technology cards, which you can see on this slide here. They can use upgrade cards to boost their output, but the real test of the game is the resilience of your grid against climate change. So there are kind of a set of chance cards in the deck which describe different weather and climate events that might hinder or even boost your grid. And then at the end of the game, the player scores are based on the environmental impact of your grid overall and how much electricity you're managing to put out. So, too early. Today is your super lucky day because it's actually our launch day for online sales. They're going live. So if you're looking for something to do with your kids or grandkids, which is fun and educational over summer holidays, could I suggest Megawatt? Alternatively, if you're just looking for entertainment, which doesn't involve a screen, I know I've been watching way too much Netflix over lockdown. Could I suggest Megawatt as well? Or even better, if your company is looking for a great engaging outreach tool to teach about different energy technologies and their place in the grid, could I also suggest Megawatt? We're already partnered with NNL and Westinghouse to bring it into schools across Lancashire and Cumbria. So you can head over to our website, www.curious.games, to get your hands on a copy for yourself. We also have a full advert and instructional video on there, and you can find all the details you might need. If you have any other questions, you can send them to hello@curiousgames.com. And lastly, every game plants 10 trees, so I hope that pushes you on.
And that's your 3 minutes, Yasmin, sorry. Almost there. One very important point you didn't cover. How much are they?
They are $19.99.
Thank you for that. I know you presented it at the social value group, and it looked, at that point it was still in development, but it looked like a really interesting game.
Yeah, long time coming, but it's finally here. So, there we go.
Thank you, Yasmin, and thank you, Diane, for keeping time. We'll move on to our final speaker for this meeting, which is Deborah Naylor from Inspira, who's going to give us an update on the Business School Collaboration Project.
So, good morning, everybody. My name's Deborah Naylor, and I'm the Area Manager for Inspira in West Cumbria. And I also project manage the Business School Collaboration Project on behalf of Britain's Energy Coast Business Cluster. I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about the work that we've been doing with your support and why employer engagement activities are needed now more than ever before. Next slide, please, Andrew. So the purpose of the contract is to facilitate employer engagement in schools across West Cumbria. The contract is in its 3rd year now, and as many of you will be aware, it's funded by financial contributions from local businesses, many of whom are part of this business cluster. This is an award-winning project. In 2018, it won the NDA Supply Chain Award for the best approach to ethical practice or social responsibility. Next slide, please. Just to remind ourselves why business school engagement is so important. International research by the Gatsby Foundation, carried out by Professor Sir John Holman in 2013, has shown that regular and planned employer engagement activities increases the chances of young people remaining in education or training and avoiding unemployment when they are older. And this is particularly the case for pupils from deprived areas who are more likely to have limited and non-professional social networks. A few weeks ago, the University of Derby produced research which showed that in the Derby area, pupils were much more likely to take part in employer engagement activities if they attended the schools that head teachers sent their own children to. Before the introduction of the BSCP, there was a similar unevenness of employer engagement activities locally, with some firms understandably making easy wins by targeting activities to schools that were straightforward to work in and not engaging with other schools. As part of the BSCP, every school has been worked with locally, including the Pupil Referral Unit and Mayfield Special School. And the following statistics illustrate the quantity and scope of the work completed over the last calendar year. So in 2019, 9,300 students received employer engagement activity, and that was up 30% on 2018. Next slide, please. At the beginning of May, the Resolution Foundation produced a seminal report called The Class of 2020. In this, they modelled previous recessions and made predictions about the current downturn. Their conclusion was that there could be a lost generation of young people experiencing unemployment and long-term scarring of their careers. Locally, a key report has been produced by the Child Poverty Forum, West Cumbria, and the following points were made. The isolated nature of West Cumbria impacts on the aspirations of young people as they have limited opportunities for new, enriching and stimulating experiences. It also reported that 43.7% of West Cumbrian young people do not have reliable access to the internet. Next slide, please, Andrew. The feedback from key stakeholders about the service that we provide through this project is universally positive. Young people tell us that the employer engagement activities are the best part of their careers education programme and that they find the mock interviews particularly invaluable. As area manager for Inspira, I met with all of the careers leads in the months before lockdown, and many of them are keen for employer activities to continue. Some have penciled in dates for activities in autumn, others in the new year. The employers who engage with the programme understand the importance of sharing their knowledge and experience of the world of work with the next generation. The work that we do through this programme is recognised against all social value measures. Next slide, please. Over the last 2.5 years, this project has gone from strength to strength. It's recognised and valued by our schools. They appreciate having a single point of contact and activities being delivered in a coordinated rather than in a piecemeal way. COVID has taught us that we can also deliver employer engagement events virtually. Inspira worked with the Careers Hub and other organisations to organise a virtual careers fair for the county in July. It was hugely successful and we had tremendous support from our local business cluster. Next slide, please, Andrew. The next few years are going to be very difficult for school leavers. They will need our help more than young people who've left education in previous years. This project punches above its weight. It costs a relatively small amount to run, but touches the lives of thousands of young people, and it does make a real difference. For this project to continue, we need financial support from companies like yourselves, and we need that support to be in place by October. For those of you who already support, thank you. For those companies who don't, your help is greatly needed. Your contribution can make all the difference to young people, to ensure that they're not being left behind, and to ensure that they achieve their true potential. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much, Deborah. I'm going to move on because we're right up to time on for the networking. So I'm just going to share my slides once again. Before we go into the networking, I'd love to get your feedback, as we normally do at these events. If you could please just take the time to go to menti.com and use the code 241290. That will just tag in this meeting and we'll be able to get your comments and feedback. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. It's hot outside. We're all supposed to be on holiday. It's very tempting just to go outside and sack everything else off, really, isn't it? But it's been a bit difficult for everyone over the last few months. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to spend your morning with us. We will go into the networking session. We've got about 20 people who are still in the room. So I think we'll go into, it's looking like about 3 groups, 2 or 3 groups, as a few people just dropping off by the look of it. But I will put a request for you to join the breakout rooms. That'll pop up on screen, and just follow that request and you will be automatically moved into the breakout room. But if you can just leave your feedback before you do, that would be very much appreciated. That site code again, menti.com, and the code 241290. Okay, so let's just go into the breakout rooms. And I'm going to create those now. So feel free to accept the invitation, which will appear on screen. And that will run for 14 minutes. Okay, thanks everybody for joining the networking session. I hope you found that to be worthwhile. I know we lost a few people as we went into that, and there's a few people who have left during the networking as well by the look of it. But we ran for the 15 minutes, which is the feedback that we get. People like to have that time for networking. So hopefully you found it useful. If you haven't yet given us any feedback, if you could just do that through the details which are on screen, menti.com, with the code 241290. That would be hugely appreciated, and we'll round up. But before we do, just a reminder that people within the cluster, the members within the cluster, may well be in a good position to be able to help you with your return to work, whether that's furniture, equipment, screens, hand dispensers, PPE, signage, or safety supplies. Please do look inside the cluster for some of these services. Of course, this is just a small selection of the membership, and as Charlotte was saying at the start of the meeting, do go and look at the new website, which will be rolled out later on through the day, and obviously you'll see the full list of members in the cluster there. So that's everything for today. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I hope you've found it a good meeting, interesting speakers and presentations, and obviously the networking session as well. I hope you get to enjoy some of this warm weather that we have for the rest of the day as well. Enjoy whatever you're up to for the rest of the week, and we will see you at the next event. So take care, stay safe. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.